Good morning, it's Jacob Landrum here, and I am going to give this video out first. This is going to be part of a series where we dive deep into all the different things DMAC can do. But for most people who are using DMAC, I find that a quick little crash course is about all you need to get started. So the focus of today is going to be finding tests in TAG, getting them over into TEKScore so that your kids can take those tests, and then getting your scores and reports. So there's two websites you're going to need open. We're going to be on DMAC, obviously, but also we are going to need the raw score conversion table from the leadforward.com resources, and I will show you where we're going to use this here when we get to it. But if you want to follow along, you should log into DMAC right now, and then we are going to start in TAG and wind up in TEKScore. And just in case you don't know what these two things are, TAG is where you actually make your questions and put together tests. TEKScore is where you will administer those tests and see your data from them. So here's our agenda for today. Over on the right hand side, we're going to find and make a test. We're going to modify it as necessary, and then send it over to TEKScore. And then when we are in TEKScore, we are going to set our performance level indicators correctly so that we are getting star-like data. Show you how to administer the test, set up online sessions, all that good stuff, and then actually how to get your data back in the form of reports. So for today's example, we're going to be a high school biology teacher, and our objective will be to make our beginning of year test, send it to TEKScore, and then look at the results after testing. Okay, so here in DMAC, going to get logged in, and I was already logged in, so it just logs me right in. So now we are going to go to TAG, and we're going to wait for it to load. Okay, so when you get into TAG, this will look different depending on what you were doing last time you were using DMAC. Obviously, you're going to want to change your content area and all these things over here. So let's briefly run down these. Content areas, what you were teaching. We're a biology teacher in this example, so I'm going to say science. I want to be in biology. And then the source area has different tests and different items depending on what it is you're searching for and how your account is set up. Obviously, if it says user, that means it's a test you've made. If it says shared, that means it's a test that somebody else in our district has made and they have shared it with you in TAG. TAG is tests that come from DMAC themselves. You almost never need to worry about that. TEA, that's going to be star test. Pretty much unilaterally star test. As you can see right here where it says TEA, star. OER, you don't need to worry about pretty much. Bluebonnet, unless you are teaching a Bluebonnet subject, you don't need to worry about. TEKS resource or TCMPC, if you are following the TCMPC YAG, then this is going to be very, very, very beneficial for you. But the majority of unit tests across the district are going to come from here. But in this particular example, we are a high school biology teacher, and we want to give our beginning of year biology test. So let's just say that we used a last year's star as a benchmark. So we're going to click on TEA and then search. And then we get all of these TEA tests, and we can see the date in which that they were released and the name. We can click on view source to see where they're getting it from. And you can also click on this little magnifying glass to see what it actually looks like. So you can scroll through here, check it out, see if this is something you actually want to use or not. Great. Let's just say that this is the test that I want to give for my beginning of year test. In the past, what you could do is you could send any test in here straight to TEKScore, but they have changed it from then, and now you have to make a copy of it for yourself. So the way you do that is you click on this button right here and say copy test. And then we're going to give it a name, so we'll just say biology BOY. I'm going to call it a demo, and say copy. Now this is a very common hang up right here. We copied the test, but we can't see it. It's gone, but we haven't changed our source over here. So if I click on user and unselect TEA, there's my test. So then I can go in here and I can change and edit things as I want to. So just for the sake of comprehensiveness, let's click this little edit pencil. And here we can scroll through each of these questions and look them over. You can also rearrange them, how it says like drag and drop. So say for whatever reason I wanted this question to be first. I just can drag it up there. Now notice that the numbers are in the same places. I haven't, this hasn't changed yet because you have to save order. It'll tell you it's saved and now they're ordered correctly. You can also delete questions out of this. So let's say 45 questions is too many. Oh, and just to be super comprehensive, an item in DMAC is a question. And then a test is a test, obviously. But let's say I didn't want like this one or this one or this one. Then I can multiple click them and say delete selected. And they're gone. I did not mean to click that. You can also just click an X on any of these individual questions to delete them that way as well. If you are curious about the different SEs that you see right here through this whole test, you don't have to scroll through it and keep track. You can click on the key and it will pop out a little window here, and this is the answer key, but it also has, let me zoom in a little, which SEs and in what order. So that way you can see like, oh, okay, we're testing 13A like 5 times on this test. We probably don't need all of those questions, whatever it is. So if you're happy with what your test is, then you are ready to export it to TEKScore. To do that, you can click on this export button right here. And you can also do that from the test like search window the same way. This little button right there. So if I want to send this to TEKScore, I can. So then it says export key and content required for online testing. What that means is that if you have any of the new item types, it will say online only. So that's things like multiple select, drag and drops, hotspot, all those crazy new item types they have with star 2.0. Then you have to leave this checked and it makes you click this box. If you scroll through here, you can see all the questions and the answers, and you can kind of pretend to take the test and just, it's basically just saying, hey, look through this and make sure it's going to look right for an online test. Unless you made the question, you can be pretty sure that it's going to come through looking correctly. But you have to click this box, the window opens, close the window, you're good. Say export. And now you see up here at the top, we have changed from tag to TEKScore. So now that we're here in this new test key, we actually have to go to lead forward and get a special chart. So I have it pulled up already, but I'm going to actually show you the way that I always do it. If you just type in lead forward, and just Google it. Either home or resources will come up first. I'll just go to home for the sake of it. And then you want to go to resources. And then you want to go to performance standards. Obviously, you want the current school year, as current as we can get from here. And then you're looking for the raw score conversion table. If the word conversion freaks you out, don't worry. We're not actually doing any kind of conversions or anything. The reason why we need this is because the numbers over here on the 2025 side, they're going to tell us what our cut points are for different performance level indicators. So, excuse me, back here in our test key, we got to choose our grade. We'll say 9th. We got to choose our version number. You can click this to see which versions have been assigned. Fun numbers here. I'm just going to choose 998 because that looked like it was available. Obviously, you'll set your testing date to whatever it is you're doing. Description, you can give this a more thorough description than your title. So let's just say, beginning of year test for freshman biology, whatever. Passing standard, this is just like this at 70. It's your normal, gradebook passing standard. Star standards is where we need our chart for. So you have 3 options. You have none. You have standards, which just gives you approach meets masters. Approaches meets and masters. And then you have with indicators. With indicators is what you want because it's going to give you the most comprehensive data. To find these numbers, we need the chart. So over here in our nifty little chart, we have science, and then, zoom a little bit, we've got science, and then we have biology. So if we follow the line over here, it's this row. This is actually a lot easier if you print it out, because then you can just look at it and have it. What we always tell teachers to do is to actually write down these numbers, because these are the ones you're going to use pretty much all year, and tape it to your computer so that you always have it, because you have to put these numbers in manually every time you send a new key over. There's not an option just to save it. So in this particular example, we have 25, 30, 40, 51, 74, I think. Okay, let's see how good I can remember. 25, 30, I already forgot. 40, 51, 74. 40, 51, 74. Okay, cool. So these will, and I'll explain and show why these are actually very useful after we get done with this part, and we're looking at the reports. Access, you can just leave this alone. Editors, if you have not set up any editor groups yet, like so, this will be grayed out. You can't click this. But I will show you how to do this in a way that actually will work for you. The reason you want editors on your test in TEKScore is because if you are gone for whatever reason, then whoever you have set as editors will be able to reset your test so that students can get back in if they get locked out. So when you're happy with all the stuff, you just hit save. And then it'll dump you onto content. So let's go over to editors. Now I have access to all the people in the district, so I'm going to filter this down to just high school. Okay, so editors can edit test key and student documents, but what they really can do is they can see the kids in their testing sessions and then make sure that they can reset them if necessary. So let's go ahead and add just the people it makes sense to add to this particular thing. We'll add her, that's fine. And then you just go this little arrow over here, and there they all are. Now, if you're going to use these same people every time, you can click on options and say save editor group, and then you can give it a name. So I might call this one like HS Resetters. Oh, it only Resetters. Okay. Now, when you send tests back to TEKScore, I've already reset my editors, but that little box that said optional, you'll have the option to choose that group name every time. Finally, we're going to click on online. This is different from last year, so if you get a little freaked out when you open this up, that's fine. We're just going to click in there, and we're going to look at all these different online settings. Require secure browser. This is almost always going to be a good idea for you. What this does is it completely locks the kids out of their Chromebooks from everything else except for DMAC. The first time that you enable this and they use it for the year, it will absolutely give their Chromebooks a migraine, and it'll be kind of a pain. After that, it's not so bad. But if a student says, oh, it's not working and I closed all my tabs, they didn't. They have something open, because the lockdown browser will not work until they shut down everything. Sometimes also it's just really picky and their Chromebooks don't like it because it's really hard on those machines. So if you have a student who's still struggling with it, tell them to totally shut down their computer, log back in, try it again. And then if it's not working, try a different device, do whatever you need to do with your campus technology people. But all of their Chromebooks have this enabled. Now when you choose this, it will automatically set some of these settings, like allow students unlimited sign-in attempts. That defeats the point of the secure browser, because if they can sign in as many times as they want, then they can leave the test, look at the answer, go back into the test, on and on. This way, what it does is it basically locks them out of the test, and they can't, or out of everything else, and they can't go back in. So if they leave the test session, you have to manually reset them and get them back in. Allow them to see their test results. You can if you want to. You can turn it off if you want to. It's up to you. You can leave this unchecked. Shuffle choices during student sessions. If you want to shuffle the answer choices and stuff so that it's a little harder to like peek over at someone's computer, you can do that. That's up to you. I always tell people to turn on guidelines and highlighter. These are things that are enabled on all devices, on all kids for their testing, so they may as well have them and get used to them. Dictionary and calculator, Desmos, these are up to you. It really depends on what it is you're going to be, what it is you're doing in your test or which test you're giving kind of thing. I would not enable these unless you have students with particular visual disabilities who need these, because alternatively those kids will just mess around with these pretty much the entire time. So I wouldn't worry about clicking these two unless you just have a really good reason. And then you hit save. When you're actually ready to give the test, there's two different ways to start your test sessions. The first one is from right here. You just click this little toggle, and now our test sessions are going. The second way is from the test keys up here. So this little test keys button, you can click it or click list. They go to the same place. So these are all the different tests that I have been added to as an editor or that I have made. And here is our test that we just made. What you see right here, this little sessions thing, this, if I click it, will take me to a list of all the kids who have joined it and are in their test. But if I wanted to start this test, for example, I'm going to do this really quick. If I wanted to start this test for online testing, then I just click this little person icon. It says, are you sure you want to? Yep. And then it's going. For your students to log in, they need three things. They need their ID, so their lunch number. They need their birthday, and then they need this. They need to know what the ID is. DMAC of the past, this ID changed with every single online session. It doesn't change anymore. Once you make a new test and send it to TEKScore, this is the ID forever and always. So to see what these kids are doing and how they're doing in this test, I can click on sessions. And this is where I will see all the kids who are taking the test. We're not going to go too deep into this right now because one, there's no kids in here, and two, there's more to talk about in this regard. But what we can look at right now is actually the reports from not this test, but the same test essentially, with the same kind of numbers, just so you have an idea. So we're going to close this window, and we're going to end this session. So let's say that our test is done, all our kids took the test, yay. We want to know how they did. Up here at the top where it says reports, you can click on instructional, teacher, students, training comparison. We're just going to click on instructional. And then just to make it more specific, we'll do campus. Over here, I want to choose the test that I sent over. Obviously, the one I just sent over doesn't have any data, but this test is the same thing, basically. I'm going to deselect this. There are a lot of different reports in DMAC. It is totally up to you which ones you look at and which ones are most useful for you. I'm just going to show you the ones that I think get you the most mileage and give you the best kind of options. So performance summary is sort of a mandatory one. It's going to give you a very broad overview, which you will see shortly. Item analysis is good to see how the kids did on individual questions. Results by demographic is good if you're worried about a particular subpop or you're looking at very STAR-like data, because STAR looks at things by demographic a lot. And then SE performance is useful just so you can see how the students are doing on multiple standards. And then you click on view. for the sake of confidentiality a little bit, I'm going to show you one where I've taken a little bit of data out. Okay, so this would be the performance summary for that test that we made. Up here at the top where it says passing standard, this is that 70. If they made a 70 or better, they passed. If not, they failed. This is gradebook pass fail. Star performance standards. This is what we actually are very interested in regards to things being star-like. So these cut points here are the same ones that we got from our lead forward chart. And this gives us a breakdown of how many kids got meets, how many kids would have gotten approaches high, approaches low, not approaches high, not approaches low. And then this down here is cumulative, and it kind of breaks this box apart for you so that you can see, like these are the kids who would be considered not approaches on star, and these are the kids who were approaches on star. So performance summary is probably your most frequently used report, and the most useful one for very general, quick information. This is item analysis. So item analysis breaks down every question, as you can see over here, and then it tells you the standard associated with it. It tells you what the correct answer was. In this case, the correct answer was B, and it shows you how many, percentage-wise, how many kids picked that one. And then it tells you which answers the kids picked that were wrong. How many? So like 29% of them picked A, 14% picked C, 3% picked D, and then 53% picked the right answer. You can also, at the end of that report, it gives it to you in this little bar chart thing. And this is very useful just to have like a very quick glance. Like clearly number 9 and number 28, whatever those questions were, we need to evaluate like what standard those are. How is it asking this question? Where's the problem here? Whatever we have associated with number 39 and number 40. These are our best ones, so these are the ones we're not going to worry about so much right this instant. So this is a very easy way to kind of get a like overview quickly which questions were causing the most problems. Conversely, this is SE performance, and this just breaks down for each of the standards. How many times was it tested? You know, how much did it weigh on this test relatively? And then what's our mastery at? So how well did they do on this overall? I didn't screenshot and click this one necessarily, but you also get the same kind of report like item analysis for SE performance. So it's very useful that way, just to have that, again, have it on hand, like which standard are we weakest in, so you know where to focus on your spiraling and reteaching. Final useful report here that I'm going to go over is just this results by demographic. This chart's kind of chaotic, but it's useful if you're, you know, as we approach star time, this is a useful thing to kind of just have your eyes on to know like which groups of kids do you really have to like focus on. So this breaks it down by their ethnicity. This breaks it down by their different services. So we've got at risk, economically disadvantaged, we've got SPED and Title I and 504, and you can see kind of their performance and all of the different performance level indicators for each of those different groups. So this helps you sort of break down your groups into different, break down your kids into different groups for testing. And there's one more report I actually remembered I wanted to show because it's very, very useful for breaking up your kids into different groups so that you know who it is you need to work with the most. So back in DMAC and TEKScore, under reports, instructional reports, we're going to click on student. And then over here on the left, we have to pick our test again. So I'll pick this one. Shows all the kids over here. We're going to click on all. I have this on my reports button clicked. You can edit which reports you basically use all the time if you just open this up and check them. And then if you click my reports, it'll bring them up for you every time. But for this particular example, what you would want to do is you'd want to use student responses. This gives you a breakdown of every item and how the students did, like which students answered which questions. I'm not going to show that one because it's pretty self-explanatory. It just has the kid's name, the question, and then says what they answered. But the student quintile one is very, very, very useful because it gives you your kids into 5 different groups. And if you click on this quintiles button, you can actually set what you want these quintiles to be. So conveniently, we have 5 different groups we can use here for the same purposes. So for this particular example, obviously quintile 5's max is going to be 100, but we're going to set quintile 3 or 4's max to 73 because if they made 74 or better, then that's masters. So then meets is 51%, so we're going to set that max to be 50%. Quintile 2 is 40, or quintile 3. Oh, actually it'd be 39. And then quintile 1 would be 29. Now, if I set this up correctly, what we should have is quintile 1 is going to be all of our kids who got anywhere from 0 to 29. Quintile 2 is going to be any kids who got anywhere from 30 to 39. 3 will be from 31 to 40, or 41 to 50. And this should line up to did not meet low, did not meet high, or this is all did not meet, sorry. And then this is approaches high, low, approaches high, meets, and masters. And then you say apply. You can also save that as your default quintiles down here if you do student quintile, and then just put those numbers in. If you only teach one subject, then that's probably for, the best. And then you would hit view. So let me show you what those look like with things edited out. Okay, so this is the student performance, and this obviously would be their name and then their ethnicity, tells you if they passed, did not approach low, did not approach high, etc., etc. Gives you a raw score, gives you their percentage score. This is just, this is pretty basic stuff, but this is good just to kind of see your kids at a big glance. This is the quintile grouping that actually matters. Now, ignore these percentages up here. I did them wrong for my screenshot example. But you get the idea. If you set your cut points correctly, you'll have kids who are, this should be 74 to 100. But this would be your masters, this would be your meets, this would be approach high, approach low, and then this would be all of the did not approach. So this kind of gives you all of your kids in their quintiles based on their performance. So those are just some reports that I think are beneficial to have, and I wanted to make sure that you saw them. Okay, so that was the DMAC crash course on the absolute basics, finding your test, sending it to TEKScore, administering the test, and then seeing the reports. Does a lot to cover in a very little amount of time, and this video is already pushing 30 minutes. But if you have any questions, and I'm sure you do, feel free to reach out by email, jacob.landrum@rrisd.net. My desk extension is 5100. And I will be releasing more videos that go in depth to each of the parts we talked about today, because it could be a whole hour-long video on just making items themselves in tag. But that's, for later on. To get you started and to get you basically what you're going to do most of the time, this is really what you need. Go back, rewatch, pause, jump to different parts in the video as necessary. Or if this is all too much, just click the link in my email to set up a time to meet with me one-on-one, or reach out if you have any questions. And that's all I got for you today. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to hearing from everybody.